How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Dead Jester Productions podcast, episode number 235. I'm your host, Joshua J. Moskers, and special guest this week is nobody. It's a solo episode because I screwed up. I had a recording scheduled last night and then realized at the time that the guest had requested that the episode be delayed by a few weeks due to some scheduling of what they've got going on. So thought we were all good. We were not. So now I'm doing a last minute recording on Tuesday evening. So you guys will be listening to this first thing in the morning. We got to record and edit and get everything taken care of here last minute. So good stuff on my part. Really, really well thought out. But it is what it is. Hope everyone is doing well. It is really fucking hot here. I didn't make a full minute. That's going to get demonetized on YouTube. Damn. Anyway, it's been really hot here. I got in my car this afternoon. It was 102 degrees. Obviously, I think that's a little overinflated. I think it, they always kind of show it hotter than it actually is. It ended up going down to like 100, which is not better. But it's been super hot, super humid, and it's been brutal to go outside. And yeah, I'm recording this on the 16th. The episode will be out on the 17th of July 2024. Coming off a really hot weekend for U.S. security teams. On Saturday, I guess it was, we had a presidential candidate, Donald Trump, getting shot at one of his rallies in I think Butler, Pennsylvania. Might have gotten the town wrong. In Pennsylvania here, so it's gone over really well in this area, and that is sarcasm. People around here are huge Trump people. I know I don't talk about politics on the show really. I don't plan on diving into it too much, but it's just a current event that's seized headlines to say the least. And crazy stuff. It's scary times. We had I'd just been talking to frequent collaborator Klaus of Klaus Commotion, new episodes every Sunday. And I'd just been talking to him. I had to leave to go somewhere else at family visiting. And I stepped out, like 20 minutes goes by, and he texts me. He's like, Trump got shot. And I was like, what the fuck? And I pull up my phone. I'm looking over it. And it's absolutely crazy. You know, I had that immediately when I look it up, I had that immediate sense of dread. Like, this is going to be bad. People are going to use this as a way to justify more violence or lying or what. It's going to be a mess. Especially in the immediate aftermath, people pointing the finger, pointing the blame everywhere. And maybe I'm off base with this. Maybe it's just because I went back to tuning out all of the news. I don't frequently read, the news and the headlines and things like that. It's all performative and clickbait. It's just meant to drive engagement. So I don't know. I just try and avoid it. So I guess going back out of it, maybe it's cooled off a little bit. But from my perspective, hopefully it doesn't end up going that way where it's more violent and really aggressive. Seems like people trying to tone it down a little bit in the wake of it. I was basically forced to watch President Joe Biden's address to the nation on Sunday evening. I was trying to watch the Copa America, and another event in which security did a terrible job. Copa America football tournament. It was Miami and Colombia Argentina and Colombia in Miami, and they had security issues where fans were just storming into the stadium through the gates. They burst through. People were climbing in through air vents. It was insanity. I mean, what an absolute mess. So the game got delayed like an hour and 15 minutes. In the first, 15 minutes or so of that delay, they ended up showing Biden talking about what had happened and asking for people to calm down. And we'll see how it goes. I know Trump had said something similar on Truth Social or something, I guess. But I've not followed up since. I try and stay out of it because it's not healthy. Like I said, I try not to talk politics on the show, but I would hope to anyone listening, for the love of God, just stop going on social media and getting all of your information from there. Stop watching cable news and getting all of your information from there. Just go outside and fucking talk to your neighbors or something. Just be polite. Just talk to people. It's how you get actual discussions amongst people. I mean, nothing healthy is going on the internet. I was reading a thing yesterday, discussion between some people, and it just lies back and forth between them from both sides. And I was like, this is ridiculous. People live in their little silos of information, especially in current day, where if you go online and read everything you see is going to be force fed to you with the intention of keeping you on the platform. So they're going to keep feeding you stuff that will either enrage you or get you to like wholeheartedly agree, like back up your points. I think people do understand it, but man, they just feed into it more and more. And it's really disheartening to see that people don't realize just how controlled the information they receive is. I would just really encourage people to go out and just talk to people, even if you disagree with them. Just have a relaxed, healthy conversation with them. It's way better than what's happening. We were laughing at a family member I was talking to last week, where I was telling them about how I'd been watching the Copa America and some of the matches. And I said something about like, oh, I watched Spain win. And their response was, oh, did you see Joe Biden? And it's just not at all relevant. But, it's people are just so caught up in it. It's not healthy. Like, I get that it's important. But man, the level that people take, like, it's not healthy to obsess over politicians to the extent that they do. It's terrifying. That being said, I feel like people should also not sit in fear in their houses. It's drummed up to be way more dangerous than it actually is, I think, to an extent. People need to communicate better. I think we live in a time where people have picked what ideas they want to latch on to, and instead of communicating well with other people, they just spew vitriol out onto the internet, or not willing to actually sit down and converse with people like they used to. I've talked about this before on the show with guests and without guests, I think, as well, about just people are not good at communicating anymore as far as like face to face. They're so used to communicating through social media. They're so used to communicating through dating apps. People have a really hard time making that initial first step of connecting with people. There are people I work with, some clients, where their sales people are, one, they have no actual sales experience, which I don't hold against them, obviously, that they're trying to learn the ropes, but they're very hesitant to just like speak to people. Somebody calls in, it's like, oh, I guess I'll answer, and they're just nervous. And like, don't get me wrong, sales is not easy, right? Not everyone is going to be a great, I don't want to say public speaker because that's not exactly what it is, but not everyone's going to be a great communicator. I'm certainly not amazing at it by any means, but I've gotten more comfortable about it, at least. And I've just tried to explain to people, I'm like, you're just talking to somebody. There's nothing at risk here. Just talk to them, and I feel like people just are not good at that anymore. I think it skews younger more than older. Like people, like older people, I'm talking like retirement age, like seniors age. I feel like people in that category are more able to, just because that's how they were brought up. They weren't raised on the internet. And then the younger you go, the more likely it is that they've just lived their entire lives on the internet. And I don't know. It's disheartening to see the lack of communication skills and how that's contributed to people just not being able to and not being willing to have, I was going to say difficult discussions, but it's not even the case. Really, it's just realistic discussions. However you feel about certain topics, it shouldn't people shouldn't be afraid to talk about it with one another, but it's very combative, and it's not a healthy environment if everyone is so on edge about it. And yeah, it's just, I'm beating a dead horse here, right? Everyone knows that the internet is a terrible place to get factual information, at least in like current events and political topics, right? It's a terrible place to seek well thought out discussions in a public square of Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and so on and so forth. Threads. I don't even know if people use Threads. Just, I remember when they launched it and everyone was talking about it, and someone brought it up to me the other day, and I was like, I forgot that existed. But yeah, please talk to people, talk to your family, just communicate with people intelligently, politely. It is going to be hard at points in time, because some people are so passionate about things they know nothing about. But the sacrifice of having the conversation they don't want to have is necessary to establish the consistent line of communication, I feel like. So we'll see how it goes. Dark opening this episode. We're not even 12 minutes in, sitting here like the country's doomed because people can't talk to one another. Family's been torn apart. But yeah, no, it was current event. It got me thinking a little bit, and I was like, damn, we'll see what happens. We'll see, because it's going to be 2 weeks after episode 250, a week after. I don't even remember. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Could react to the election in real time on the show. That would be awful. Nobody would like that. But yeah, that's where we're at with that. Kind of moving into the same sort of topic of the final 250th episode. I had somebody reach out, actually. They saw one of my comments about the final episodes of, I forget how I worded it when I was reaching out to get guests. And yeah, I still plan on wrapping up at 250, at least for now. I'm going to call it a hiatus. We'll see if it returns in the current form of this show. But currently we've got a ton of guests lined up for the rest of the run. I might end up having more people than expected lined up. So we might end up going back to doing like the half episodes, right? Where it's like episode 241.5, where I'm just dragging it out to 250, and I just kind of release them intermediately, not on the normal Wednesday cycle. So we'll have to see. But I want to keep the release schedule so 250 comes out right after the recording of the final episode, because that's just important to me in that regard. I don't know what the heck this is. Random emails. But yeah, I want to keep 250 scheduled the way it is. If everything goes well, it's going to be a really cool episode. I'm excited for it. I have to communicate with some of the people involved yet and see what we need to do to get it set up. I was looking. It was Amazon's Prime Day yesterday, and I don't know if any of the deals are still available. Probably not. It still says Prime Day, so we'll see. But it is still on sale. I might have to do this. A number of them at least. But I had like, not all for the 250th episode, but I had like $5,000 worth of equipment in my Amazon cart, and I was like, this is getting out of hand. I had like new camera equipment, which I've been on a real kick, and I'll follow up on this a little bit more later on here. Just updating all of my camera equipment. I was I'll talk about it in a little bit after this point. But yeah, I had so much equipment in my Amazon cart, and I was like, maybe I should communicate with people and get a better picture of exactly what we need before I go out and spend all this money on stuff I might never use again. So that'll be interesting. But I'm hoping it turns out the way I want it to. I do have a sort of a vision for it and how I want it to unfold. I just got to make sure everyone else is on the same page and ready and willing. Unfortunately, as is often the case with friends and family, they not on the same page, to put it politely. Where it's like, oh, we'll show up this time. Oh, I'll do this. I'll do that. Not the right time, not the right place, not with the right equipment. So who knows? It's better off if I just do everything myself and just say, get here at this time, 30 minutes early. And that way they hopefully won't be late. But it should be a really cool episode. I'm really excited for it. One, just as a sense of finality, and two, just because it's for me and for like my personal record, just to kind of see how far we've come with this show and just in general, and just how much my life has changed over the last few years. It's gonna be really cool, and I'm excited to do that. I've mentioned it before on one of the more recent solo episodes I've done about part of the reason why I've ended it. I'm planning on ending it, or at least hiatus at 250, was because I wanted to focus on other, passion projects. Some of those being, videography, film, writing, and just like storytelling in general. And I've got a ton of different things I'm in the process of at different stages of the processes at least. And some of those are podcast based projects. A lot of them are writing, video, like I said, videography and film. And it's only become more exacerbated, that feeling of just not being as excited to do the podcast as I used to be. There was a time for most of the run, honestly, until last few months, beginning of the year, whenever I first announced it, of just, I was so excited, like, oh, another new person to talk to. This is great. Really excited. To this day, I'm still excited to talk to new people. But the podcast has become work, and it's not what I want. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't want to feel like it's a job. And that's where we're at currently. I still enjoy talking to everybody that comes on. Really excited for the guests coming up. It's going to be really great. At the same time, I'm like, let's schedule these out in as close to a time span as possible and just get them all recorded, get them all edited, and then it's just off my plate and I can focus on other things. I had a recording last night. Great recording, great time. I love chatting with the guest. And then when it was done, I was just relieved. I was like, I can go back. There are other things I want to do. I want to relax. I want to play games. It's just, I just have other things I want to do that I'm way more passionate about. And I don't want to feel like I'm beholden to an audience or like a specific task. And it's been building up and building up. And I don't know if it's because I can kind of see the finish line, or what is this? So I got 15 episodes to go after this, one of which is already recorded. So I have 14 other episodes to go. One of the others is obviously that last one, which is a very different vibe just because of, everything about it. So really I've got like 13 episodes to really plan out and record and everything. And most of those are going to be recorded over the next like 2 weeks. So it's going to be jam-packed, and I'll edit them all down, and it's going to be super, I'm going to feel super relieved afterwards, I think. And just being able to wipe my hands clean and be like, we did it. And just going to that last episode, really excited about it. And we'll have to see what happens, too. My plan was to record it at the venue, and I still want to do that. But if the opportunity presents itself to get all of those people together beforehand, I might also do that. But I'd prefer to do it at the venue, just because I think that's way more fitting. That's way more cool to be able to do it in that regard. So we'll see. But it's, I don't know. I've lost the passion for the work itself. And I'd mentioned a while back too, I think when I first announced that, part of it was I'd spent a day just out sitting on a hiking trail, or like a walking path rather, just taking photos and videos of just the area and like meeting random strangers who happened to be walking by, some of them with dogs, and just meeting people. And it was just so relaxing. And I was like, I don't have anything specific on my agenda. I can just be creative and relaxed and just do whatever. And it was so nice. And I realized immediately, like, I'm so fucking lucky to be in a position where I could do this. And I just want to get back to something like that. I was super lucky 2 weeks ago, and then also a week ago. I was part of 2 different video shoots for a company where we did like 3.5 hours. I mean, it was 2 full days of shooting, but it was like a little over 3.5, almost 4 hours of actual video that we shot. And it was so cool. Like, just going, like, being able to take the time and doing like a professional job of setting up the lighting, professional video camera, getting all the shots and just being super creative about it and working with all the people involved. It was so cool, so much fun. And I knew that. I was like, God, I need to do this more often. Like, why am I not focusing on this? And it's kind of what I mentioned before with my Amazon cart, just filling it up with all the equipment. I was like, well, now I need to update all of my personal equipment. So it's where we're at. It was amazing. It was so much fun. And then going over the footage over the past, like, roughly a week of, doing segmenting it all out, doing the color correction, doing some goofy edits. It's just been an absolute blast, and it's something I want to do more of. And as many of you know, like, one of the things I do for a living is marketing, and it's great working with all the different people. But it's very tedious at times in the sense of, like, money management, like, just going through and sifting through, like, it's very computer based, right? It's on the computer all the time, of building out websites, setting up advertising through Meta, Facebook, Instagrams, through Google, Twitter. It's very technical in the sense of, like, numbers and information. And I would love to be able to just do creative work. And it's a very selfish endeavor for sure. But I'm very much of the mindset of, if you're in a position where you can attempt to do something that you're passionate about, you should definitely go for it. I've met people on both sides of it where they felt like they missed their opportunity, and it's too late, and it's incredibly sad and depressing. And then I've met people who have gone for it, and sometimes they've succeeded and sometimes they haven't, but every single time they're like, worth it, right? They were like, I didn't want to miss the opportunity. And there's some people who are still working their way up to being able to do that. And I'm right there, like, let's go for it. I'm happy to work with you to help make this happen. It's totally worth it. I don't want people to be in that position where they feel like they've missed the boat, of like, the ship has sailed. I'm not in a position anymore where I can make that happen, or, I waited too long and, I'm too far behind the curve, or whatever have you. And it's how I feel personally. It's not a profession where I feel like I could get too old to be a part of it by any means, but why wait, And so it's something I really want to focus on. And I have people around me that are supportive of it, and also, quite helpfully, they're knowledgeable about it. So it's I don't know. I'm gonna go for it as best I can. I love video editing. I love content creation and just being artistic in general, and that feeds into my writing and that side of things. And I really want to invest as much time and effort into it as I can, because I don't want to be in that boat of, I missed my chance. I've gone too far. Now it's, the passion is lost, or I feel like I've missed the opportunities. You can only miss the opportunity if you wait too long. If you get ahead of it, it's still coming down the line eventually, So it doesn't ever benefit you to wait in attempting to do something, I suppose. And people will probably point out all the ways in what I just said is completely wrong, but whatever. But yeah, we'll see. I'm excited for it. We'll see how long the sales last for these Prime Day sales, how much of the equipment I actually buy. this is a side note. One of the things I want to get is a new camera, just a newer version of one of the ones that I have. And I stopped in at Best Buy on Friday last week, I guess it was. And it was one of the more depressing shopping trips I've ever been on. I knew that Best Buy had removed all of like the DVDs and Blu-rays and like disc-based media from their stores. And I didn't even bother going back to check what they'd replaced it with, but it seemed basically like accessories for TVs, you know, like sound bars and speaker systems and things like that. But there's like all of their shelves are just empty, and like the whole store, it feels like they did the thing where it's way more open, like there's fewer shelves and they just space everything out, and it's just bizarre. Like the shelves were empty. I went to the cameras section. They had, I think, 3 cameras and like 2 lenses. And I was like, all right, that's not particularly helpful. And like all the like they had like 1 backpack and like 4 empty pegs or whatever. And it was so sad. Like even to the computers like section, they had like 10 computers sitting out, right? They have the PCs and then the Macs like sectioned off, or like separated rather. And it's set up to like have a bunch of space, and I'm sure it's intentional. One, to make it easier for people to stand there and each, you know, people to be able to look at the different products without getting in each other's way. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like they're also just trying to fill in the space so there's less empty space, but just wasn't working. It was really sad. It just felt empty, and I was like, this is the death of in-person shopping in real time. We were joking about it over the weekend as well, of like, anytime you need something in a rush and cheap, it's like, go to Amazon. It's like, I'm supporting the death of small businesses everywhere by purchasing on Amazon. It's like, man, it sucks. And then you see like the loss of disc-based media on top of that, and it sucks. You can't own movies or games or stuff anymore, and everything's going digital. It's crazy. And yet here I am talking about how I have like $5,000 worth of equipment in my Amazon shopping cart, but I can't find it anywhere. That's part of the problem. Go to Best Buy, they don't have shit on the shelves. What am I supposed to do? I don't know. But support small businesses. Well, I'll throw that out there, I guess. I didn't have a whole lot else to cover. I don't want to ramble you further. I know it's a very short episode. We're not even at 30 minutes, but I don't want to rant just for ranting's sake. Just a couple of other like tidbits of info and updates, I guess. I know a lot of times potential guests will listen to recent episodes to get an idea for what the show's like. This is not a great example of it. This is a good example of like what the solo shows are like, but not necessarily guest episodes. But I'm still planning, even after I wrap up the podcast, I still plan on working with content creators and small business owners to, help them build out websites and get their digital advertising set up. And I still want to do that, but I'm hoping that I can focus on film and writing to the point where I can cut back on the number of clients I work with, which is I've sort of been doing to an extent where I've taken on less clients. And what has happened over the past is I'll keep people on until they're able to manage it themselves. I don't want to get paid just to sit here and tell them they're doing a good job. It's stupid. That would just be taking advantage of them, and I don't want to do that. So I'm phasing out the older clients who have things under control, and then instead of bringing on the number of people I had been, I'm just kind of easing more people into it slowly, and freeing up some time, because it's been brutal. The last year and a half, 2 years has just been seemingly non-stop work. I feel like I'm working like 110 hours a week or so. It's just insane. I don't know. I'm exhausted. I've needed a break, which I think burnout has been a huge factor in my thoughts on doing the podcast in general, and just needing to do more creative work. But yeah, taking a break and maybe working with a larger number of clients smaller number of clients, but more hours per week. Cause like typically I work with people an hour per week, and then I just have enough clients to make up the cost, the lost revenue for not having a large number of working hours per client. It is what it is. It just a lot of burnout and just trying to transition a little bit. But that being said, if people do need help with anything, always happy to work with them because I do enjoy it still. But I'm transitioning to doing it on my own terms as opposed to being, reliant upon it. I should note the Dead Jester Productions website will go offline here in a couple of weeks or something like that. I forget when exactly. Partially just because, let's see here. Yeah, July 31st. So it'll 2 weeks. So yeah, part of I still own the domain. So if I ever want to put it back up, I can. But I'm just kind of letting it go offline. I haven't made many changes to the website in the last number of months, and I just didn't feel like paying for advertising for it. I was doing fine without doing so. Part of the reason for just letting that go is just because I don't feel like paying for it when I don't need it and it's not getting used in the way it would need to be to justify it. People could use it to listen to the podcast, but nobody does that realistically. I can see the numbers of people that go to the page. Not many people are listening to the podcast on the website. Obviously, it's going to go through Spotify, Apple Podcasts primarily. So I'm just kind of letting that phase out. And if I feel the need to put it back up or just design a new website for whatever reason, I'll do that. But yeah, I'm just kind of letting everything kind of coast peacefully to an end. And then we'll see where I go from there. But I don't feel like spending the money. I'm kind of cheap in that regard, I guess, but it's just not worth it. It's, a few $100s a year, which isn't terrible. Depends on your perspective, I guess, but it's not terrible, but it's a few $100s I don't need to spend on a website I'm not really focused on. But it is what it is. So yeah, kind of phasing that out. Podcast, same thing. Episode 250 of the last one. I don't think I'm going to do video for the 250. I don't know if I mentioned that before or not, but probably just do audio only. I don't really feel like throwing my family and friends up on a video podcast and just slapping it up onto YouTube for the world to see. People don't need to see all their faces. I don't want to do that to them. But I don't plan on me putting content with my face up either anytime soon. I know I said I want to focus on like video content, videography, filmography, things like that. It's not stuff involving me necessarily. It's working with other people to do stuff and actual actors and businesses and things like that. See how it goes. Whether or not I actually am even able to put it up on my personal channels remains to be seen. If anything, I'll hold on to it and make a portfolio website. But yeah, just being the creative mind behind it as opposed to the on-camera talent, as they say. So it is what it is. I feel like I've ranted enough here. Short episode, but no need to drag it out any longer. I just want to thank everyone again. This has been fantastic. Really looking forward to the rest of the recording schedule we have going on here. It should be an absolute blast. We got a good variety of people reaching out as far as like their fields of expertise. And I'm just really excited to be a part of those episodes and really excited for 250 actually. I'm hoping it works out as well as I plan to have it work out. But thank you everyone for listening, and thank you for all of the feedback and the support you guys have given, and thank you to all of the guests who have been a part of it. It's been a blast. So this has been episode 235, and see you guys next time.